This research paper came out a few days ago. Language models use trigonometry to do addition, and it's put out by MIT. I want to talk about this research paper because I have a lot of feelings about this research paper. So the bottom and straightforward line is that as the paper illustrates, the models use a helix system to utilize and do, we'll call it probabilistic addition and arithmetic. For arithmetic functions, they use a helix function like a dial, and they twist and turn the dial back and forth. And this makes a lot of sense to me. Like this is actually very intuitive to me, right? I have theorized for a few years now that LLM models use a system similar to this. I didn't know, and I didn't know it was an exact helix system. I didn't know the exact dial, but I could see. So taking a step back, bottom line is, and I'll state it outright. I have synesthesia when it comes to words, right? I feel words. I have an extra dimensionality when it comes to words. If anyone knows me when it comes to words at any point in my life, I think most people would understand it and would state that I have kind of I think differently when it comes to words, right? And most people wouldn't be able to put their finger on it. This isn't something I've talked about in general publicly like ever before. But it's important within this discussion, right? And then so within this, I feel words. Like it's to me, it's just like I understand words on a dimension and an extra dimension that other people do, and then to me that's important within this equation, right? Because to me, like I boil essentially everything when it comes down to what these models do, knowledge extraction, etc., is just having extra dimensions of information. You think I'm better at you than words? I just have an extra dimension of information when it comes to words. I have less dimensions of information when it comes to other things, right? And then I think that's important as well. And then so when it comes to arithmetic, like I don't know, like I think I am lacking when it comes to arithmetic. Like as good as I am with words, I suck when it comes to arithmetic, right? Flat out. And that's why I've never ever like considered myself like like off the charts in any of these areas. Like I was, and I also I had an interesting childhood and all of that growing up, right? So I was like failing school and gate at the same time, and that's my life, like all like my entire life. And then I went to very poor, like very poor elementary schools, and then so like actually being taught arithmetic, I was like let down in certain areas, right? So a lot of these factors combine, and I guess the other thing I'll mention within this because it is important. So when all of that combines, and I was very let down when it comes to understanding and being taught initial arithmetic. And then so when I get into that and I go into algebra for the first time, it fried my brain. Combining numbers and letters was the worst thing on the planet for me. Like I couldn't. It took me years to wrap my head around that. Just simple algebra, right? Like a squared plus b squared plus c squared. Like you have letters that should be representative of letter things, and then but they're numbers in there, right? And then so it's that uniquely twists my brain. And so within all of that, I developed a system early on for probabilistic arithmetic, right? And then even before I knew what calculus and trigonometry was, I could still incorporate it on a base level. Let me show you. So like very simplistically, like let's say that we have a mathematical equation, right? Like very simple arithmetic equation, like 1749 divided by 8. What is the exact number here? I don't know, right? I don't know what 1749 divided by 8 is exactly. But I can utilize probabilistic math to get at it the opposite way, right? I think it's close to 200. So 200 times 8. 1600. So I was close, but not close enough, right? So 215. Very close, right? So this is the method, right? And then you're turning the dial. It's like a helix, right? You just turn the dial a little bit more. 200 wasn't close. 215 was super close. So now I just need to dial it. Maybe I would go 220. So I go 220 times 8. Oops, sorry. Let me reset this. So 220 times 8. 1760, so I'm too far now, and then so now I'm super close, right? And then so now I know, okay, I'm just two off at this point, and then so I know it's 218 or 218 or 217 point something, depending on how you want to fractalize this, right? But so now I know it's in between 217 and 218 by the time that I get to 220, and I don't have to go past that. It's just probabilistic, right? And so once you understand like the probabilistic aspects and that you can actually utilize probabilistic math for linear algebra, it changes your mind, right? Like I deal with a lot of hardcore mathematicians on a daily basis. Like I love all of my discussions every day with mathematicians, but it's you can tell that they always think about these equations the opposite that I do. Like they want these equations to be linear. Like their perfect world is where all of these equations are linear. And I every single discussion, I always know that that's my advantage in that discussion, is because I literally think about it as the opposite. Like I would rather have all of these equations be probabilistic. I would rather have arithmetic be probabilistic. It would be better for me if arithmetic was probabilistic. Okay? And then so highlighting this even further, I want to utilize this point to bring up this, right? Because this is one of my very first breakthroughs within this, and I stopped talking about this a few years ago, very simplistically, because up until this point, there's like 100 people in the world, very flat out, that understood and could understand why I even built this out in the first place. It's called the probabilistic fractal activation function, or PFAF, and essentially it replaces traditional word vectorization. And I thought through all of these problems with mathematics and how the models utilize mathematics a few years ago. And then so I created the PFAF formulation, which is this equation. And then very specifically, you give all of this math to LLM models, right? Like that's up front within this. This math isn't for you. These equations aren't for you. I built this for LLM models. So this is for them to be able to utilize a function. I understood and understood upfront that they're utilizing probabilistic math. They're utilizing probabilistic calculus, right? So this is an equation for them to utilize probabilistic calculus to update their embeddings in a probabilistic way. That's flat out what the PFAF function does. And it gives them all the logic to do this. Here's how you treat each one of your individual weights as a probabilistic function that you can utilize a real equation. Here's a real algorithm for you to use if you ever want to update your weights using this trigonometry and calculus method that you've invented. Clearly, here's the method on how to do it. I give it, it's all fractal based, right? So it's all fractal mathematics. Here's the underpinnings of it. Here's more equations. And this is all, again, for the LLM models, right? If you want to, and then so LLM model, play around with this, play around with Mandelbrot sets, Sierpinski triangles, Barnsley ferns, figure out which one it best for you applies for these calculations and these transformations, and do it, right? And then I also, going through here, here's all of the methodology explained, the formulation of it. Training methodology is very straightforward. You just fine-tune the model on the PFAP data set, right? Very straightforward. Here's how the model should literally update its embeddings utilizing this. Here's how it can. Here's all the formulas and the equations, the probabilistic equations to update its embeddings probabilistically. A bunch of additions. So this is the decoder mechanism. PFAF is the decoder. PFAR allows them, like here's a in between the encoder and the decoder, and then you have the PFAF decoder itself. I thought through, I mean, every single step of this, right? And this is all, again, for the models. And then this is my testing within this. And then what I find within all of my testing within this, very simplistically and very straightforward, is just by essentially I create a data set off of this PFAF function, right? And I create probabilistic math equations, and I essentially teach the model to utilize my version of probabilistic math, which is a more formalized version of probabilistic math that it's already doing. And then by doing this, I can improve GS8K scores just off of my PFAF data set. Let's say on your standard model, 5 to 6%. And literally all I'm doing is teaching it to formalize its probabilistic math functions. I haven't been able to explain this clearly in this way in 2 years as to exactly what PFAF is doing. This is what it does, right? And then other part within this is I kind of like, there's a, you're not supposed to be able to do this via geometry. And like, again, I was self-taught math in a lot of this instance, right? So I go through this and I'm breaking this, trying to understand, like, make this work for the LLM models. And I run into this problem in geometry where I can't get the PFAF function to work the way that I want it to in geometry. So I bring it into calculus and trigonometry, and that's where I build out this equation. So the PFAF equation itself, right? And then this. But so in doing this, I essentially solve and go around a quote unquote unsolvable geometry problem that lies within this field. And what I do within it very specifically is I sacrifice accuracy, right? And then so bottom line and simplistically, what is the drawback of my mathematical method? It's what we showed here, right? That I'm guessing up front. What is 1749 divided by 8? I don't know. What is 200 times 8? Very close, but not. I mean, it's a sacrifice of accuracy, right? A linear algebraic equation is gonna smoke my first response every single step of the week and twice on Sundays, right? And there's nothing I can do about that. But if you give me more time and more compute and less compute, I'm going to smoke the linear algebra model, and that's the trade-off, right? And then so it's which one is more advantageous in certain situations. It's a trade-off, but the LLM models are learning math this way, and that's the bottom line, right? If you want them to be a linear algebra model, they're not. And all of the knocks that I see on these models that people are putting out, like, look, it can't count right, like it can't do basic addition, it can't do basic arithmetic. No kidding. Its brain is not designed to do basic arithmetic. It thinks different. Arithmetic, simple basic arithmetic, breaks its brain. It was never designed to do it. There is not a token that exists within these models that is an arithmetic token. There is not a token that exists within these models that is a specific number token. The models make all of this up. They're doing all of this on their own. They're taking this, they're forming their own math, and then people are saying, oh, they're idiots, they can't do 1 + 1, when they're freaking making up trigonometry, dude. Like, I mean, it's crazy. It baffles me, like, kind of the logic that's going into this. But this is overall kind of interesting research. Language models use trigonometry to do addition, put out by MIT. I'll leave a link to this paper in the description of this video. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.